What up? What up? What up? Welcome back to another edition of Green with Envy post game live, part of the 617 podcast, and proudly brought to you by Crowworthy. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in and joining me as he does each and every time. My best friend, co-host, and the coach of the podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. What's going on, man?
Oh, man, I'm feeling good tonight, baby. Feeling good tonight. 2 games over 500. Let's go.
Recording after a win is a way better feeling. We've mentioned it before. It's just a whole different environment when we can actually come on here, feel a little bit looser, like two couple of, proud dog dads that we are right now.
Dude, tell the people. Welcome to the Green with Envy family, Taco.
That's right. That's right. For those of you that have been tuning in here, obviously we've talked about our lives quite a bit on here. If you're tuning in live, if you've been listening to the podcast, which you'll be able to catch us tomorrow morning as well. So, we always talk about our lives here. Big update in your boy's life over here. First time pet owner. Welcomed a brand new dog into the crib. We got our guy Taco in the building here. I was looking for his name tag here, just so the people at home. Taco is in the building. So we came up with the name as the dog itself we adopted from El Paso. My girlfriend is from El Paso. She's also Mexican, loves tacos. I love tacos. Who doesn't love tacos? And of course, shout out to legend Taco Fall. You may be a Cavalier, but you'll always be a Celtic. So welcome to the happy home. Green with Envy's welcoming a new family member. Taco is in the building.
Taco's a cool dog, man. So for everyone listening, I brought my dog, Blaze, who's a pit bull. He's 10 years old. Definitely can be a little bit rambunctious. He's been aggressive, as Will found out one time when he was walking Blaze when I was away for Thanksgiving.
Dude, it's almost the anniversary of that because it's Thanksgiving right now.
Yeah, Will found out that leash aggression is a very real thing. So I brought Blaze over today, and I think the first 15 minutes of that interaction went pretty well. And then you brought up the plush toy. Blaze is very protective over plush toys. So Taco tried to get that plush toy. Blaze snapped him a little bit. And then Taco tried to get his revenge, as only male dogs can do. He tried to mount Blaze. That didn't go well for him.
Yeah, that was a new one. That's the first time I forgot that would be like a thing that could happen for two dogs trying to figure out the dominance of it. But definitely for now, Blaze is certainly the more dominant of the two dogs. It's funny. I was just saying this before we came
Taco's
on.
revenge.
Taco's revenge.
Shout out Nico.
I was chilling with Taco on the couch watching the game, and I was talking with Lorena, and our friend Emily came over. Shout out to Coach Bussy. And I was saying today was the first time, and Greg and I, big basis of our show here. Greg and I have been best friends for 30 years. And, I pretty much have been there since Blaze was a pup, and definitely since you've had Blaze, but we knew Blaze even before he was your dog. And today was the first day I really saw Blaze as like a little bit of like an elder statesman, a senior dog. It's the first time like I'd ever, even though I've seen him around dogs that are considerably younger than him, like the other, like Billy in your house, it's the first time I really noticed the difference.
Yeah, Blaze has got the distinguished like white marks around his eyes now. He has that like adorable white spot going down his nose, as a lot of dogs do, as Taco does.
Yeah.
But he's getting old, man. He's a 10-year-old pup, but he still acts like a puppy until you see him around real puppies, and then he's like, I don't want to fuck with you puppies.
It's kind of like us playing basketball a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we got that energy. Look at us. Like, we've talked about our pickup exploits out here. The first 15 minutes go great. The ball's snapping around. We're making a couple shots. Then all of a sudden, especially if, whoever wins that first game, if the next team has, let's say somebody brought a newbie that happens to be like a guy that's like 24, 25, still got them young leg, comes in and it's like, all right, man, why don't you settle the fuck down? Like, we get it. We don't got this energy to keep up with you anymore. It's a similar dynamic.
Yeah, man. And speaking of young legs, how about them Celtics, bro? Like those legs were spry tonight, man. Let's talk about them C's.
Let's get into the season. Let's get into the morning box score. We're not going to spend a ton of time on the game tonight because, well, if you guys watched, you know why. But we're gonna start there. So let's queue up a little morning box score like we usually do here. Let's walk it through. For those of you joining us here live, and for those of you listening on the podcast, this will be a great refresher for you here as to the events that just transpired here. Morning box score. Here's what we got: Boston Celtics 108, Houston Rockets 90. Typically, I hit y'all with a couple facts here with the opposing team, but we're just gonna skip Houston tonight. We don't need to spend any time on that. They're 1-16. They've got their time to grow. They'll have their time in which we'll give them their due. It sure as hell ain't now. Let's go over to the Celtics. Biggest news of the night: Jaylen Brown and Lob Williams back in the starting lineup. The starting five back together again. Jaylen Brown, 19 points in 23 minutes. Lob Williams, 15 rebounds in his 23 minutes. Jason Tatum, fourth straight 30-point game. A little bit of a dirty 30 tonight, Greg. 30 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Al Horford just being the steady rock that he always is. 11 points, 11 rebounds, knocked down 3 threes to be exact. Dennis Schroeder, 18 points. He's just continuing to do his thing, especially now moving that to the bench. We'll talk about what that opens up for the team here. Celtics out rebound the Rockets 63-49. Celtics pull home 18-point dub, 3-game win streak, 2 games over 500 with a large matchup coming on Thanksgiving Eve against the Brooklyn Nets. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But Greg, the big story is JB and Lob are back, right? I mean, I don't know if there's anywhere else to start, but I think we got to talk about these guys and what it looks like again to have the starting 5 unit as a full unit.
Yeah, and let's start with JB because it's been a while since JB played. You know, Lob's only missed 2 games. JB's been out 2 weeks. It was just really good to see him back on the floor, man. When you look at these numbers, he only played 23 minutes, which is huge. The minute count for everybody aside from Tatum, I think Tatum was the only guy over 30 minutes, if I'm right about that. Yeah, Tatum was the only guy. Yeah, only guy over 30 minutes. Tatum played 33. Big. Yeah, Jaylen played 23 minutes, 6 for 13 from the floor, 3 of 6 from 3, which was really nice to see because in the first quarter, you could tell he was trying to like force it a little bit, trying to get that first bucket in. And once he got the first one to go, you know, JB, I tweeted this out from our podcast account. I would love to know the league leaders and like NBA Jam he's on fire moments, because when JB gets going, they're like he's right up there, man. JB heat streaks are like right up there with some of the best in the league, and he had one of those tonight in the third. I think it was in the third quarter where he just got really
I think it was like a 10-0 run that he went on. And it's funny because I love that we share the podcast account, because you can tell when something really gets to us and we both have to say something that's about the same moment, but we're just saying it slightly differently. Yeah. And in that same moment, I was thinking around that time, about midway through the third, when he hits that heater, all right, I feel pretty confident we're going to win this game, but you just don't like a team like the Rockets lingering around. I mean, we even saw against Oklahoma City on Saturday night when that game was in the bag. We took out all of our starters. We had to then bring them back. Now, granted, that team has a little bit more veteran talent than what the Rockets have to mount that type of comeback, and that's kind of been their MO early in the season. But, you know, you just didn't like him kind of lingering, and then JB just came in, shut that door, just went scorched earth, went in fuego, and that's when, you know, at first I was thinking about for JB tonight. I'm just happy he's back. You know, we'll judge the results later. He's out there. He looks good moving around. Not every time can you come back off of, you know, like he came off the COVID list and then drop that gem against the Knicks in the season opener. That's not always going to happen. You know, there's going to be times where you're a little bit rusty. And so I was just kind of, you know, I was just not really, you know, it was what it was. You know, it's not going to be a big deal. And then he just dropped that bomb in the third, and everything just felt better. You saw the bench react to it. You saw the team. You could feel it in the crowd a little bit. And so just having that moment for JB is really nice to bump us into what's coming up here over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of my point that I was about to make. This was the perfect game to get Lob and JB back, right? Because we got the Nets on Wednesday. You don't want to throw JB back into a playoff-like environment. This was almost a preseason game, if we're being honest. Those Rockets didn't have much to give. Like you could tell, even when the Celtics were were letting them hang around, it wasn't because of our defense. We just couldn't really string together enough buckets on the offensive end. We were getting a lot of stops in this game, and we just completely shut them down. Like that guy Armani Brooks had a couple moments where he got really hot
briefly, yeah.
Right, and that was the only time where I was just like, oh, like, is this going to be the Armani Brooks game? And then it just wasn't, because they don't have enough talent on that roster. And our defense has been amazing. Absolutely amazing. I got some numbers for you I'll throw out there later. Let's keep talking about this morning box score, though, because there were some other things that I loved here. As you said, the Jason Tatum 30-30.
30-30, baby.
For the people that are tuning in for the first time, do you mind kind of breaking down what the 30-30 is for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 30-30 is a loose construct, for being real about it. You know, it's one of those games where a star player like Jason Tatum doesn't necessarily have the numbers that, from a shooting perspective, jump off the page. You don't look back at that game and be like, man, that was the Jason Tatum game. And you look at him tonight, he went 10 of 22, not bad. 1 of 9 from 3-point range. Don't want to harp on that too much, but got to the line 9 times. And that's the key number in a dirty 30, is getting to that free throw line. It's finding other ways to score the ball when your shot's not always going through. The classic examples for this are typically guys like James Harden, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. You can go through the list. Giannis has a lot of these as well, where they get to the line 9, 10, 12, 15 times. And because they've done that, you look up and they're like, man, they only made 7, 8 shots throughout the game, but they end the game with 30 points and they bring home a dub for the team. That's the dirty 30 right there. Loose construct, but Jason Tatum with one of those nights tonight. And I wanted to highlight something real quick with Jason Tatum. I thought he busted it out a couple of times tonight, and it's been something that's been pretty prevalent, I feel like, in his game. And it's that quick spin move of his. The one when he's just getting real downhill. And I feel like he's used it before, but it's been a little bit slower and methodical, in which he's trying to use his body to create space. In this new spin move that he's been using, it's real quick and then going up with his length right off of the person's body. And I don't know if it's new. It feels new, or it feels like it's more, it's been more perfected from whatever the iteration it was before. But you think of a lot of his major clips that he has this year, and that spin move's been involved, a lot of them, and it's looking really pretty.
Yeah, you're talking about the one where he has the extended pickup. He swings the ball through and his arms are completely extended. Yeah. So what I really like about that move is so much of what Jason Tatum does is just pretty. Right. And that move right there isn't the prettiest move. It's kind of ugly. He's a little bit off balance. His arms are kind of flailing all over the place. It's an iteration of the classic Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant move in the mid post, right? Where they can either go to the fadeaway or they can spin underneath, and it almost looks like they're dancing. Kobe did it all the time. He stole it from MJ. Hakeem was great at it as well. But Tatum's, for whatever reason, that move that he has, the way that he's doing it right now, it's not the prettiest move, but it's super, super effective. And what I really liked about that move today is one of Tatum's go-to moves, especially in transition, is that in and out. He does that left-handed in and out that just freezes people. He's had that move since he was a kid. He hit LeBron with it the other day and then finished over LeBron. Today, it looked like he was thinking about what the scouting report might be about him, because I think he had that move on Jayshawn Tate, who's a great defender, and he hit him with the in and out, and he went right from that in and out into that spin move, which was just great, and that's really what I love to see from Tatum, is when he doesn't get too predictable with all the moves that he's doing. And tonight, man, the variety of ways that JT was getting his shots off was just beautiful. That man he's out of his slump. We can officially say Jason Tatum is out of his slump. He's back to being JT. And everybody in Celtics Nation has been saying this all year. This team would probably be near the top of the East if Tatum had just been playing well since the beginning of the year. If this was the Jason Tatum we were getting, we don't even need him to shoot great from 3-point range, right? As long as he's just playing average basketball, the Celtics are probably right up there with the Nets at 12-5, right? Instead of 10-8, which is what we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's every time that we put together a rundown for this show, we could have kind of just put, well, if Jason Tatum shot better, we win this game. That could have been, if you take out the Dallas game and the Hawks game, in which he shot and played great, almost every other loss the Celtics have, he just did not shoot even close to, like this is, like I said, this is a dirty 30 game. This is an average shooting night, but he found different ways to get his shots. He found different ways to get to the line, and that's what he wasn't able to do in some of those other games. And of course, you add Jaylen Brown, you add Lob Williams, you have essentially a full roster minus Josh Richardson tonight that you're working from, and you're playing a G League team, so of course that helps. But it just gives you an example of the completeness that this team can be if you have the pillars of JB and JT just playing average versions of themselves. You know what I mean? You have them
for sure.
You add in Al, you add in Marcus, who's played great recently, and then you have Lob comes back, dominates the boards, and Dennis Schroeder. As great as Dennis Schroeder was while Jaylen Brown was out, putting that version of Dennis Schroeder to the bench, to have him to come off and anchor that second unit, is massive. I was going through his numbers earlier today and looking at, his his sixth man of the year final this year. He didn't win, but the sixth man of the year final this year, and he's pretty much putting up the same numbers. You really just swap out. He shot a little bit better from three that year. With this year, he's shooting higher from the free throw line, and he's averaging about a full assist, a little over an assist more this year than he was the year that he won sixth man. I mean, it's really tough. As much as Dennis is going to have moments where you scratch your head and you just got to chuckle at it in a game, and that's why he's day trading Dennis.
Dennis chuckle, yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of got to deal with it. It's Dennis the Menace. He's got 7 nicknames because you never know which version of Dennis that you're gonna get. But it's really hard to complain with what you're getting from Dennis Schroeder right now, and he's been a very big catalyst for this turnaround for the Celtics that we're experiencing.
Yeah, Schroeder's been awesome. Everybody that was saying, and ourselves included, that was kind of theorizing maybe Peyton Pritchard would win the backup point guard role. There's just a different level of player. Dennis Schroeder's been unbelievable. The free throw percentage, I think he's up around 90%, and I feel like
89.8.
I don't think I've seen any of those misses. Every time I've seen him shoot a free throw, it goes in. But just real quick, one more thing about Tatum that I think we did not mention is the fact that he only had one turnover tonight. Early in the season, as he was adjusting to being the primary playmaker and the go-to guy down the stretch, he just was making bad decisions. It seemed like the game, and we talked about this, right? Udoka wants to play faster. So the game was almost going too fast for him. He wasn't able to find his pace within the flow of Ime's offense, and it was just ugly. And the fact that he only had one turnover tonight with the ball was in his hands as much as it was, that's huge for this team. I think he only had 3 assists, but he was cleaning up on the glass. Lob took most of those rebound opportunities. Lob had 15 rebounds, but Tatum had 6 on the defensive glass. And that's something that I've been loving out of Tatum this year, is his ability to get on the glass and just be long. He's been great on defense as well. But to hit on you guys, Schroeder a little bit, what else could we ask for from this man? You and I were kind of, I think you talked about it with Adam on the Celtics blog pod. I know I did, where about maybe I think it was 4 or 5 games ago, he was like, man, I don't know if Schroeder is the guy. There's too much of Schroeder. And it was kind of we needed Schroeder to be great when Jalen was out, right?
Yeah.
And when you see what he did tonight, 15 shots, probably a couple too many shots there, but his aggressiveness going to the basket, I'll live with those 2 extra shots if it means he's in the paint the whole game and just getting by people. And oh my God, dude, poor Garrison Matthews, huh?
Yeah.
Whenever Garrison Matthews
knew
was
you,
guarding somebody, oh dude, it was what did he do in training camp? Did he just get under everybody's shot? Anytime Garrison Matthews was guarding in isolation, every single guy in the Celtics was like, yep, I want that matchup right now. And Dennis Schroeder made him look fucking stupid.
Yeah, man. And it's, the thing with Dennis Schroeder, and to your point of what you were saying about the conversation with Adam, is there's going to be times where I'm okay with an extra shot, especially if he's going to be the anchor of a unit. I was trying to figure out what Ime was going to do with JB back. And obviously JB was on a minutes restriction, so I don't want to read too much into it. But if you look at his first quarter substitutions, he still took out Tatum and Jalen at the same time and let Dennis kind of be the man out there. And if you're going to run a lineup out there where it's, Dennis, Marcus, Grant, Al, and I can't remember who else was out there. Maybe it was Romeo, I think was the other one out there. If you're going to run that lineup, I want Dennis I want him being extra aggressive out there. And if that means, a handful of extra shots, I'm okay with it at this point. I know that there's a little bit of inherent risk in that, but within that chaos, it opens up a lot more for the game later when you have him out there with those different lines where, to your point, he's putting that rim pressure that we didn't have last year. We wanted that to come from Kemba, and we did deep dives on top of deep dives on top of deep dives, trying to find ways that it was going to work. And the little bit of evidence we could find is that when Kemba got in the lane, and it's very different when Kemba get in the lane than versus Dennis, I want to be clear on that, but that it made a huge difference. And you can see the paint touches and the way it kind of matriculates throughout the team a little bit, with the way Dennis attacks the rim, establishes that we're going to be going to the hole, going strong, and then the way that it can ultimately then create ball movement later. I'm kind of okay with those extra shots, even if I'd rather him be, more 13 to 14. If he's 15, 16, 17, especially if he has especially because he's one of those guys that has the peaks that can get you to, what do you have, 29 versus the Thunder, 30 versus the Lakers, or whatever it was. He said 30 or high 20s a couple times this year. Having that much of a difference maker, I'll live with those couple extra shots. Very happy with what we got from Dennis Schroeder this year.
My man dropping the word matriculate. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go, my guy.
I gotta keep up, man. I was watching something earlier where it was talking. It was actually the last episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. They were talking about that good scene between Vince Vaughn and Larry David, where it's like, you know what? People underestimate you. You're a little bit smarter than you think. You held that in your back pocket. And I think Vince Vaughn was like, sure, you got a few in yours as well. So got to keep it up, got to keep it going here. But I know something that you did want to get to here is the defense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the defense here because the Rockets end up scoring 90 points tonight, but let's be real, wasn't necessarily a true 90. This you could also classify, I feel like, in that string of games where the Celtics continually were holding teams under 90 points. And, this isn't updated for right now. I know you got a bunch of numbers to lay on us, but Celtics coming into tonight, 7-3. In that 10-game stretch, their defensive rating was 101.6, which was good for third best in the entire league over that stretch, only behind the Clippers and Suns. So this team certainly feels like they're kind of turning the corner here, but I know you got some stuff you want to lay on us. So I'm a back out here. I'm a clear out, let you go ISO for a minute.
Yeah, I mean that first number that you said out there with the with the defensive rating, yeah, the Celtics defense has been amazing in the month of November. So the Celtics are now 8-4 in November with wins over the Magic, the Heat, the Raptors, the Bucks, the Cavs, the Lakers, Thunder, and now the Rockets. I don't have the numbers updated for this Rockets game, but going into the Rockets game in the month of November, we were 8th in charges drawn, 7th in contested shots, 6th in net rating, 6th in defensive rebound percentage rate, 4th in loose balls recovered, 4th in second chance points allowed, 4th in opponents' fast break points, 3rd in opponents' points in the paint, and 3rd in overall rebound percentage. If you want to look at why the Boston Celtics are 8-4 in the month of November, it's because Ime Udoka's defense has been absolutely dominant.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I got for you, bro.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. Love hearing those numbers, and it really helps to paint that picture because I feel, one of the things that you always look for in a team is, okay, you do need to be malleable. Dropping another vocab word for you there. You do need to be able to switch it up, but what do you hang your hat on? What's your identity that in a crisis, that's what you go back to? And I feel like every, championship team, which I'm not saying the Celtics are yet, but it's one of the characteristics that a championship team or a contending team does have. And so I think the Celtics are figuring that out over this stretch. And tonight didn't have Josh Richardson, who I think has been a huge catalyst for that. But I think all those numbers that you just put together there is where this team is finding their footing. And then circling back to our point with Jason Tatum, if you can take that and combine that with two all-purpose two-way dynamic wings, that if you just get baseline production out of them, who are as good as Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, you're going to be in a pretty damn good spot.
Yeah, and then when you add in two young guys that have really, really played beyond what we expected of them this year, and Grant Williams and Romeo Langford, I want to talk a little bit about Romeo Langford. Everyone's been giving Grant the love lately, but my man Romeo, just you can see the athleticism that he has on the court. And some of those numbers that I just threw out there with the defensive 6th in defensive rebound percentage, Romeo seems like he's getting a lot of rebounds in traffic. Those contested rebounds where maybe, a big is blocking out another big and it's up to the next biggest guy or the next closest guy to get that rebound. Romeo seems to be one of those guys that's getting those rebounds, just like Jason Tatum's getting those rebounds. His athleticism this year has blown me away. I did not know he was this athletic. Right. I mean, if you think about it, though, over the first couple of years in the league, he always had injuries. He had ankle injuries. So
I was going to say, really saw he was always injured. That's why we never knew it. You know what I mean? Or we didn't have a chance to see
explosive. And he's strong. Even Scal made a comment during the game. He was like, I don't think people at home know this. Romeo Langford is a strong, sturdy guy. He's got some thickness to him. And you're starting to see it. And I know this is a shout out to our guy, Adam, again, but this is a conversation we had at the beginning of the year where he was like, for Romeo, because Adam is Team Romeo. Like this is
not,
Adam's
not even team. Not even team.
He's
not even team. He's the captain. He's the captain of the Romeos.
Yes. And his biggest critique of Romeo was always that Romeo wasn't strong enough holding his line to the basket. And that's something that I've seen a lot more of Romeo this year. He's doing this nice little trick with his left arm because he drives right for the most part. Romeo drives to his right hand. And he's kind of like almost hooking the guy's leg as he drives by them without actually hooking them. It's a really interesting way to drive to the basket because a lot of guys do take that contact. But they like, you think of James Harden when he goes to the basket, he tries to
Mhm.
like almost draw a foul on you by kind of leaving that arm out there, and he'll bring it up through your arm. Romeo is just does a really good job of almost just kind of, sliding them out of the way while continuing to be aggressive, going to the basket and holding his line. And I thought he played great tonight, man. And I think that over the last 2 weeks, Romeo, with Jalen being out, is a guy that's really, really benefited from it. As much as we want to say Josh Richardson has stepped up, and he has,
Mhm.
Josh Richardson has been great. If Romeo Langford can give the Celtics what he's been giving the Celtics, it almost doesn't even matter if Aaron Nesmith doesn't make an impact this year, because Romeo, I mean, we just need one of those two guys to be great
Yeah.
and be great in their role. And I don't know that Nesmith is ever going to be great in that role this year, but Romeo has been great in limited minutes. And I just
Yeah.
want to continue to see more of Romeo on the court.
So one thing, shout out to Aaron Nesmith. He knocked down a couple of threes, and he had a really nice little smirk at one point. Hit that
Yeah,
hit
I
that
know
first
you
three.
appreciate the smirk.
I love the smirk. That's me. Growing up, for those of you listening, like I was always the dude that I didn't really talk trash when we were like playing video games or shooting around. But then when I either got hot or I was whooping some ass on like the sticks, I get the little smirk on my face, and honestly, it drives people fucking wild. It's way
It's
better than talking
annoying.
trash.
It's
It
annoying.
drives them nuts. They gang up on you. They don't want to see you win. The haters don't want to see you win, and you still win. But
Our entire friend group, whenever Will gets a smirk going, we're just like, fuck Will. Like Will doesn't get to touch the ball. Like double team Will.
yeah,
Will doesn't get to touch the ball.
yeah.
Will doesn't get to play the game right now. If we're playing like fucking 2K or something, it's like, Will, you're out. Go get a
It's
beer.
it's pretty much like I don't care if we lose. I just don't want Will to win. That's what the game
Exactly.
becomes. I don't want Will
Yep.
to win. But anyways, Aaron Neesmith, shout out to your smirk, man. But I do think you're right in the sense that we really only need one of them to pop, especially the way it looks like Ime wants to set it up for his rotations and the way that the defense is the identity. That's more Romeo's identity than it is Aaron Neesmith. And so I think that gives him obviously the inside track, and you can see the momentum in the confidence that Romeo is getting, kind of growing, knowing that at least for now, even if he's not necessarily going to get, because with Josh Richardson back, I would imagine Romeo's probably not getting 20 minutes, but he's probably guaranteed about 10 to 15 minutes per night where he's going to get his chance, and he knows that if something happens, next man up. That means that's him. That's him and his opportunity. And so I think Romeo is going to be able to thrive in a smaller role. Whereas for Neesmith, we've talked a lot about his shooting, getting in a rhythm. It just seems like maybe that's not the best fit right now, but never hurts to have reserves. So glad to see that he was able to get something going late in the game. Romeo had a great game tonight. Just going through Romeo's line here, 4 of 9 from him, 2 of 4. Once again, Romeo's hitting his threes. I don't have his full number for the season pulled up right now, but Romeo Langford's been one of those guys, like your point, him and Grant. And actually, I thought about this during the game, Greg. Beginning of the year, I really thought there was a group of 4 young guys and that we were going to have to call on, and they were going to have to do something impactful for this season to really mean something for the Celtics. And that's talking
Mhm.
about Grant, Romeo, Neesmith, and Pritchard. And my money was fully on it being Pritchard and Neesmith being the
Yeah.
guys that were going to be impactful. And it's been the complete opposite. And, hey, we gave Ime a hard time about not playing that shooting, but maybe if we get Jalen and Jason back to playing the way that it's supposed to be, maybe that doesn't matter as much, especially if Grant can continue to be at least a threat. He's probably not going to continue to shoot 45 and 50% from three from the corner, but if he's at least a threat, that's real.
Yeah, and Romeo as well, right? 2 for 4 from three, and I think that this year I would love to see. Let's see, what are Romeo's actual 3-point numbers this year? Do you mind looking that up as I'm
Yeah, I'm
talking?
pulling that up right
Um,
now.
cool. And I just think he's been the better player than Neesmith. Like, if Neesmith isn't bringing elite level shooting, like meaning 45% defenses are freaking out anytime he's about to catch the ball to shoot it, then he's not good enough at the other aspects of the game. That is the one skill that he's built of being the elite guy. And if he's not going to be elite, it doesn't really make sense for him to be on the court. If say Neesmith shoots by the end of the year, Neesmith is at 38% and Romeo's at 36%. Like, is that 2% really that much of a
Yeah.
difference and justify playing him over Romeo? Absolutely not, especially when Romeo's rebounding the way he's playing. The defense that he's bringing, his rotations are just so much more crisp than Neesmith. The other game, I forget which game it was. I think it was the Thunder game where we had that big lead and we just literally couldn't hold the lead with anybody except our starters. And anytime Neesmith was on the court, he was the worst player on the court. When we were up 25 in the third quarter, I even said to my girlfriend, I was like, hey, I would really like to see Aaron Neesmith on the court, And she was like, I'm fucking on TikTok. What are you talking about?
I was gonna say, I feel like Danielle was probably like, "Dude, are you kidding me? Romeo Langford's the way to close this game out." Like, I feel
Right?
like I
No,
thought she would have had a better retort.
she
A little
she
disappointed,
has a
Danielle.
but with Neesmith, like he got in the game right after I said that, and then immediately the 25-point lead went from 25 to like 15. And it was because he was just horrible on both ends of the court. So if he's not gonna be even serviceable, Romeo Langford is a great guy to go to. And then our guy Grant, we said at the beginning of the year, when everybody was like, fuck Grant Williams, fuck Grant Williams, fuck Grant Williams. And we were just like, fuck Semi Ojeleye. We're happy he's gone. Shout out Semi.
Semi,
Like with
catching
Semi,
a drive by once a show.
once
Has
again.
to happen.
But with Grant, we said, if you erase last year and said we went from the NBA bubble to this season, what would your expectations for Grant Williams be? And they would be super fucking high. And what he's doing right now, like that block that he had, and then he got the loose ball, led the break, had the wherewithal to say, Aaron Neesmith just hit a shot for the first time in a month, so let me look for him on this fast break. How many power forwards are going to actually look for the guy that needs to get hot for your team to maybe even reach another level of success? And he did that. He blocked the shot and then led the fast break, kicked the ball to Neesmith, who hit another shot if it was on the line. But like those moments are what we saw from Grant Williams in the bubble, where we're just like, this guy could be a really, really good part of an 8-man rotation on a championship team.
Yeah, and to answer your question about Romeo from the very beginning, he's shooting 42.3% from three on pretty much at two 3-point attempts per game while playing 18 and a half minutes. And then if you look at Grant, which, if these numbers are going to hold true, Grant playing 21 minutes a game right now, shooting 3.3 3-pointers a game at 42.4% clip. I mean, if they're going to do that, and then there's just not going to be the same need that we were pressing for Ime to go ahead and put in guys like Peyton Pritchard and like, Aaron Neesmith. And so, those guys have really stepped up in a big way. I'm really excited to see what this team, as we finally start to get these pieces back together, what it all looks like. Because we really haven't had a chance with everybody clicking. And I don't know that, we're still working. See, where JB's first game back, Lob's first game back, Josh Richardson wasn't there tonight. But it's the NBA. You're also not always going to have your all of your players available. So, just getting everybody back to a point where it's a potential, I think is big. And that's what makes me want to look ahead here just for a moment to the Wednesday Eve showdown, on the Thanksgiving Eve showdown against the Nets. The Nets, I believe they actually won tonight against the Cavs without Kevin Durant. I don't believe he played tonight.
No,
so I think that puts them. Oh, did he play tonight?
They're in first place right now.
At 13-5. They're first in the East. Washington lost as well. So they're going to be at 13-5 in the East. Big showdown against the Nets. What are some of your thoughts heading into this game?
Well, I mean, one, it is a rematch of last year's first round matchup with the Nets, right? JB did not play in that matchup, so I'm really excited to see Jaylen Brown against the Brooklyn Nets to see what we look like with a full assortment of players. And then, we can't even, it's apples and oranges comparing last year's team to this year's team. Yeah. So, 8-4 in November, the way that we've been playing of late, we're on this, what is it, 3-game winning streak now?
3-game win streak, yep.
3-game winning streak. Like, this is a great test. Even if we don't win this game, we did what we needed to do to get to a point where, like, even if we lose this game, we're still a game over 500. We still have momentum. It's not like, oh, the sky is falling. We lost to the, we lost to the Nets and we got blown out. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we're playing good enough basketball where we're ready for this test. And it's going to be really fun to see what Jason Tatum can do going up against Kevin Durant. It's going to be really fun to see Marcus Smart guarding James Harden now that the refs are allowing you to be a little bit more physical.
Yeah.
That's a match that I'm really looking forward to see what he can do against James Harden, who only had 14 points tonight in 38 minutes. Like, he did have 14 assists, but James Harden's not the same guy that he once was. especially with the new rule changes. So I want to see what Marcus Smart can do against him. One guy that might give us problems is Patty Mills, right? So that's another thing I'm looking forward to. How do the Celtics guard Patty Mills? Because Ime said it at the Olympics. We know how to lock Patty's ass down, right? So Ime, how you going to do it? How you going to lock Patty
You
down?
got to back it up now. Now it's real talk.
Gotta,
Now it's
gotta back
really
it
in
up,
play
man.
here. So
And then
we'll see,
LaMarcus
man.
Aldridge dropped 21 and 11 tonight. So that's
I
going to be
saw
another
that.
interesting guy. Al Horford and Rob Williams going to have their hands full with him.
Yeah, man. This is a litmus test game right now. This is a really kind of like check and see where you're at. Like I said, we're kind of, getting the full group back together. Feeling like there's some solid momentum. 8-3 over the last 11 games. Nets are the only team in the East with a better record over that time. So really getting two teams that are kind of trending in the right direction right now. Kevin Durant, for like I think you and I both agree, is probably the best player in the world right now. Probably second behind Steph Curry in MVP voting early in the season. But if you go look at Kevin Durant's efficiency numbers from every single spot on the floor, it's fucking mind blowing. Like what this
Dude's
guy is
amazing.
able to do. I think he's above 40 or 45% in every single area that you can find on the court, including areas that are extended, deep into that 3-point territory. So it's going to be a fascinating game. I do think, to your point, one of the things that needs to the momentum, regardless if the Celtics come away with a win, it needs to be a competitive game in which
Mm-hmm.
you can continue that momentum and not feel like you took a step backwards. Because then the Celtics have a string of games here leading up to, and this is something I've been talking about since the preseason. December is an absolute bitch of a schedule for the
Yep.
Celtics. It is
Yep.
just a
It's tough.
bear. So I think between now and December 1st, this is one of the games that, hey, listen, if Kevin Durant goes nuclear, James Harden plays like the old James Harden, like there's certain things that you just can't control when that happens.
For
Like you
sure.
do your best to combat it with the Jays and the nuclear weapons that you got, but if they go nuclear, they go nuclear. You know what I mean? But then when you look at some of the games they have coming up against the Spurs, the Raptors, I can't remember, there's a few others that are very winnable after this. You need to be able to continue that momentum so that you don't have a drop off when you get past that game and that you set yourselves up for December, because this is the end of the first quarter of the season. Believe it or not, we're almost done with the first quarter of the season here. We're gonna
It's
have some
crazy.
grades. We're gonna play into Professor Menakis over here and get some grades for y'all coming up here in one of the next few episodes. But the first quarter of the season is almost over. And so you need to set yourself up, because that second quarter is going to be so tough from December, large stretch on the West Coast, playing pretty much every contender playoff team that you can think of. You need to have a little bit of cushion. So this next week and a half for the Celtics is going to be big. And I think this Nets game will hopefully continue that momentum going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's the two hottest teams in the Eastern Conference. Last 10 games, the Nets are 8-2. Last 10 games, Celtics are 7-3. Both teams on 3-game winning streaks. The Celtics, since dropping the first 3 games at home, we are now 5. We have a 5-game home winning streak, it looks like. And this game's at home. We got to defend home court, and hopefully we come out of this victorious, man, because going in 11-8, that would, right now, dude, we're 3 games back from first place.
Yeah.
3 games back.
I
That's
mean, the
it.
East
2
is
games
crazy.
back from second place.
Things change so quickly in this league, and especially with how tight it is in the East right now. You can go from, like pretty much, in the Bucks resurgent right now too. So you can go from pretty much out of the playoffs, which was the Bucks and Celtics like a week ago, to now you're almost in that top 6. You're in that top 4 conversation really, really quickly. But you mentioned real quick that this game is at home. I just wanted to touch on that Celtics Lakers game. You and I had a chance to watch it. Your parents were in town. I'm really hoping the atmosphere that we saw there, and that was, that was a big one. Obviously, Celtics Lakers. Bill Russell came back for it. Pierce was there. The crowd was locked in on that one. That was a big LeBron made his comeback that night, so it was real big. I'm really hoping, Thanksgiving Eve in Boston, we know people
Ooh,
get
it's fun.
rowdy. People get
Yeah.
rowdy as hell. So I'm hoping that that's going to be an electric crowd come Wednesday. You got the big bad Nets coming in and the Celtics riding a hot streak. I hope that crowd really, really brings it that night.
Yeah, and we don't have to deal with Kyrie shenanigans and all that bullshit. Like, he's not with the team, so it's just like
keep your water bottles
strictly
to yourself.
basketball. Yeah, keep your water bottles to yourself, everybody. But it's strictly basketball, right? We don't have to bring all the shit that came into the games with the Nets last season. This time it's just Kevin Durant versus Jason Tatum, James Harden versus Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, however you want to put it. And let's just fucking go. Let's lace them up, whip them out, and see who comes up victorious.
Let's just whip them out. I like it. That might be the title of the podcast that we put up there. Let's just whip them out. Let's just go. It's Taco's revenge. It's Taco's revenge. He's just gonna whip it out and see what happens. All right, I think that's gonna do it for us here on the live stream. We appreciate you guys joining us here. If you joined us live, we appreciate it. Make sure you go and subscribe and follow the 617 podcast. Make sure you're following us on all of our socials. I'll go ahead and put that up here for those on the visual medium. If you're listening to us, as always, we appreciate y'all. We hope that everyone here, we probably will not see y'all again before Thanksgiving, but we hope everybody has a safe and an awesome Thanksgiving. Hope you get to spend some time with your friends, your family, your cousins, whoever it may be. And while you're there, tell them to check out the 617 podcast. Tell them to follow. Tell them to give us a rating. You're going to be all around there having some turkey, some tryptophan, maybe some edibles. Just pop it open. Be like, hey, if you guys checked out Will and Greg, they're pretty dope, man. Let's check it out. Let's give them a 5-star rating. Throw something in there for us, and we'd be very thankful if you were to do that. You see what I did there? Brought it all back. But no, for real, appreciate y'all joining us here. Greg, do you have any other final thoughts here before we send both the live crowd and the podcast crowd out of here?
I would just love to quickly touch on the Patriots. Patriots 7-4, first place in the AFC East. This is something that on that solo pod I did back when I think you were in, I forget where
I was in LA at the Patriots game.
Okay. And I had called out like the Patriots next 4 or 5 games. And I said at the end of this next 4 or 5 games leading into the next 4 games was the most important stretch of the season, because the next 4 games are bare. Just like the Celtics December is insane. The Patriots next 4 games are Titans, Bills, Colts, Bills. That is a tough 4 games.
Yep.
If we want
a lot of opportunity too.
Lot of opportunity. If we want to lock in home field advantage in the playoffs, like, can you believe we're talking about home field advantage for the New England Patriots in the playoffs? These next 4 games are the 4 games to do it. I'm super excited. Hopefully our guy Zach Muller, Boston Diehards, will get on here and break down all the football stuff that Will and I don't really know how to talk about. But I'm just excited to see the Patriots killing it. They look great. Mac Jones looks great. Our defense is dominant. It's like something like 17 or 18 possessions in a row without letting up any points. Ramondre Stevenson's back after he fumbled week 1 and then didn't see the field for a couple weeks. Damian Harris looks great. Aguilar caught a pass and a touchdown. Like, let's go, baby.
Dude, the Pats, those running backs for the Pats run so freaking hard that they just wear down a defense. Yeah, exactly. It is a very relentless rush attack. Very excited. Shout out to McCorkle, man.
Shout out to McCorkle.
Man, I don't know ultimately what Mac Jones will be. I know Troy Aikman dropped a 15 to 18 year window that he has to be the Patriots starting quarterback. Might be a little bit too far down the line, but you got to be excited with what McCorkle's bringing here. So Pat's rolling, Celtics rolling. Let's go. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will be checking back in with y'all. If you are watching us on video, we're going to sign off here. But if you're on the podcast, what are they going to hear today, Greg?
You are going to hear some Black Sheep Optimists. This one is called Tomorrow.
Peace.